I'm Halima Iqbal. I'm the CEO and founder of Oraan. Oraan is a digital financial services platform that is catering to build financial mobility for women. Our flagship product is committees. So we've digitized committees in Pakistan. Committees are these rotating savings and credit associations where people pool their money together to be able to save, but also take credit from the community. So Oraan came about to address a problem which was largely around savings and also banking, especially for your underbanked women as a target audience. When we were doing our research and understanding the use case, one of the things that we found out that women might not necessarily have access to banking services, but they also don't have the trust within the banking institutions. And when we went on to ground and to understand the space a little bit more, we found that women largely trust their communities, and those communities could be families, their neighborhoods, or the places that they work at to be able to do banking services, which in the form and shape of committees were very, very prevalent. So much so that 41% of the Pakistani population does committees, based on our research, and a similar research was done by Karandas and Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And the biggest problem that we have in this market right now is we don't truly understand the needs, especially the needs from a distribution angle for underbanked or unbanked communities, women, or your below the pyramid. From a banking perspective, they want to be able to do payments, they want debit, they want credit. However, when it comes from a distribution angle, they want financial services to be distributed from a lifestyle perspective rather than saying, hey, take up insurance, which insurance people would not necessarily understand, right? But how does that fit into their life, and what benefit does it get to them? We're unable to communicate, and that's where we come in and take this holistic approach to financial services from a lifestyle perspective, and onboard women in communities to then be able to have that financial mobility that they require. Not really understanding why a woman would take up a pink color debit card, right? Like, what is her requirement? Why is she wanting to have a big bank account to begin with? How does having a bank account fit into her life? So first, there's a massive lack of understanding of her needs, but also the kind of policies that we would make, right? When you go into a bank, you are being asked to bring in, as a homeowner or a housewife, you're asked to bring in some kind of a proof of income. Which makes no sense. If she has no source of income of her own, you're making her dependent on her male counterpart, for that matter, right? Like, if your husband, your father, your dad, brother is the chief wage earner, you have to bring that person in to open up that bank account together. There's a lot of policy changes that are happening, but there is not enough awareness being made on the demand side to be able to cater to that. So there's a policy problem, there's an understanding of customer need problem, but also there's a distribution problem. You have to understand that women might not necessarily have the mobility to go into the branches, to provide that kind of a document, to open up those bank accounts, and then what is the utility of those bank accounts? You're not giving them the right kind of tools. What is an insurance going to do? Or what if she does not know how to use a checkbook? Providing checkbook as a benefit to that bank account makes no sense. Or even the kinds of insurance that you're providing to her, if that doesn't fit into her lifestyle, she's not going to be taking that up. So it's really about understanding the customer. And then I think the last part of this is also that women as a segment is not necessarily considered economically viable. Because their check sizes are not going to be as big as their male counterparts for that matter. Their deposit sizes are not going to be that big. Their utility is going to be very different when it comes to transactions. So we don't, as a financial industry, we are not looking at her being able to provide the same kind of economic benefits than the male counterparts, and hence we have completely ignored this segment from the entire industry. So women think finance on a community level. They're thinking finance from an entire family perspective. So she's not very individualistic when it comes to her financial transactions. So whenever she's doing savings or taking credit, she's actually doing it for her household. And when she does it for her household, that check size is actually much larger than what a man would be doing it for himself or individual purposes, which makes it slightly more economical for us, or from a commercial perspective, that makes just a lot more sense. Plus, she's a better payer. So whatever she is saving, she's making sure she's saving on time because she does not have any other access. So you're not chasing her, you're not spending that time to be like, hey, why have you not made the payment, or your payment has not come through. She's very, very diligent because her reputation is at stake when it comes to that, right? So from that perspective, when you look at you mobilize a woman, you actually mobilize the entire household, and that's how the financial mobility of that household also comes through. And when you look at from a more of a LTV perspective or lifetime value perspective of that woman customer, it's much higher than a man's, because there's so much loyalty and so much trust that she's putting into this institution and coming back for repeat transaction again and again. We're a population of what, 240 million now. 50, almost half of that would be women. And if you exclude women from taking part in the economic activities, you actually your economic growth is half, right? So we need to design spaces that allow women to be able to contribute to the workforce, but also economically to their households. There's a lot of religious aspect, cultural aspect, societal aspect to all of it, but a large part of it is also where we've not designed our spaces or designed our work schedules according to her requirement. Women have time taxes, right? Like we might have a lot more responsibility from a household perspective and contribution on a household level. But if you're not allowing those, you're not shifting gears and designing work schedules according to her requirement, you're completely excluding them. And that actually leads to creates a lot of, it hampers the growth on a macro level too. And that's where we, organizations like ourselves, need to come in and understand that, okay, if we want women workforce, we have to be flexible. We have to provide the right kind of resources for her to work from home, take time off when she needs. That doesn't mean that she's not going to be contributing on strategic levels. It's just about being flexible to make sure that her time is the time that she spends in the workforce or at work is actually productive, as opposed to not bringing her into these workforces at all. I think that's where the large part of, I know that when I had first moved back and I was interviewing large organizations, one of the first questions I was being asked by HR was, are you married? And the reason why they were asking was that historically, women who have gotten married, then they've gotten pregnant, and then they had to leave workforce because the workforce or the work environments have not been flexible enough to support that. So for us to be able to say, hey, no, we're not going to hire women because they're going to get married and then they're going to get pregnant and then they're going to have children, doesn't mean that they cannot contribute equally to the economic well-being of the country. I think the biggest struggle that I had and continue to have is, especially in the industry that I operate, is my counterparts not taking me seriously because of my gender. Right? It's like, oh, I might be doing something out of a passion project. That's what a lot of people call it still. Even though Oraan has had tremendous success in all these years. So taking women entrepreneurs seriously, giving them that equal opportunity, whether it is from a financing perspective, whether it is from partnerships perspective for that matter, and having that collaborative environment where irrespective of our genders, we can contribute equally to solve for a problem that is now a national level problem that we're looking at. But to entrepreneurs who are thinking about coming into this space, I think it is about being able to take those risks, finding those networks where you can find that support, because the journey is not easy for any entrepreneur, irrespective of female or not. The journey is not easy. Finding that right kind of support system, and also being vocal about the problems that you face. It's a tough market to operate in. No, I think everybody has their own journey, and I think unless you are on it, you're not going to understand what your weaknesses or strengths are. But one thing that I would look back and say, or would want to do it correctly, is find the right tribe. Find the right team, right people to work with early on, and learn with them as you go on to build these institutions, and have a long haul, because building companies, especially in markets like Pakistan, it's not a 2 to 3 year horizon. It is a longer horizon. So coming with that mindset is extremely important, and managing your energy within that journey is also extremely important, because a lot of times you get burnt out really, really quickly because of your expectations not matching with your reality. So having that longer haul, longer horizon is extremely important, and finding the right people in that journey is extremely important. We hear quite a lot about, like, hey, financial independence, financial inclusion, finance this and that. The reality is, when the first time when the woman is able to make her lifestyle decisions on her own, because she has some savings behind her, that's extremely empowering for her. And it's not just for her, it's for her entire family that she's able to make those decisions. So women might not be chief wage earners, but they're actually budget ministers of their households, right? So they're able to understand that, hey, if I manage my life slightly more strategically when it comes to finance, and I can do that, she is able to provide better for her entire family, whether it is from an education perspective or nutrition perspective, or even standing up for herself to be able to navigate life, whether it's domestic abuse or it is being able to have some agency against her male partner within their marriage. A lot of these things come because she has that ability from a financial perspective, and when you provide she's actually making right choices for her next generation. So you're not only just mobilizing her, but an entire family, and eventually an entire generation. I think that's extremely empowering.